Hi, my name is Susan Smati. Thank you so much for joining me if you're here live or the replay. I'm here to give you a quick update on where I've been and what I've been doing. And I have been studying psyches, my own mostly, and other people's with the work that I'm doing, BQH, Beyond Quantum Healing. It's a fascinating modality. Also, quantum alchemy healing, amazing modality in order to explore our psyches and really hone in our skills and manage to break up limiting beliefs and patterns that have held us back for like eons because of the programming that we have been programmed to believe. So this is coming from generations ago, ancestral, it's in the DNA, and I have been working with that for a while. And so I have been inspired because I went to Qasim. Do you know what Qasim is? Qasim is the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors. And I was inspired by one of my favorite artists, Alex Gray. And I'm going to just show you something that I got there. I'm not sure if I'll be able to show it clearly, but I'll do my best and try. So it's a hologram. And depending on how you place the hologram and how the light is hitting it, you'll get to see the different pictures that are within it. Isn't that cool? I have been absolutely obsessed with holograms for like all of my life. So we get to see all the different pictures that are within the same like picture frame. And so that got me to really think about how this relates to our psyche. And it's quite telling, actually. I'm just so obsessed with holograms. Okay, I'll put it down. But if you haven't played with holograms, I really invite you to take a look at them. Anyway, how they relate to our psyche is because our psyche is actually made of different layers. So there's the surface layer that's pretty much like our personality, how we act with people around us. Sometimes it's how we act with ourselves. But it's very complex, and yet it's so simple. So there goes the paradox, which is really interesting because the universe is kind of made of these paradoxes that live and coexist in harmony, all in the same place at the same time and interact harmoniously all together. And if it's not harmonious, that's when, disease comes in, dis-ease, right? So, and that's what we do when we go into exploring our own psyche. We are trying to clear up the muck. We are trying to clear up the programming that we have had from our past experiences, from generations ago, from our ancestors, because it's in the DNA. The DNA is our divine blueprint. And so the divine blueprint actually carries all of that information from the past. And so when we do healing, when we do ancestral healing, and when we are doing any type of quantum healing, we're actually working with these very ingrained patterns in order to undo the programming, in order to heal the psyche and heal the body, because the body is only a product of the energies that are creating it, if that makes sense. And I know that might be a little bit metaphysical or esoteric, but it's really about like the different densities and the different dimensional frequencies that are all within the whole enchilada, within the whole being. So there are different bodies. We have the mental body, we have the emotional body, we have the spiritual body, and then finally, not in this order actually, and then finally we have the physical body. The physical body being the densest. And so when something energetically is happening, or mentally or emotionally, the body is the last thing, the physical body is the last thing that will experience that, whatever that is, the pattern, the ailment, the disease. So what does that mean? Do we get sick from viruses and bacteria and what have you, the environment? Yes, and the patterns. Because if our immune system is completely up to par, we don't get sick. We just don't, because our immunity is built to fight off the invaders. The thing is that when we have these programmed patterns that have been kind of like making us energetically weak, that's when our immunity is low. Stress will create a low immunity, things like that. So then our immunity is low, our defenses are low, we are not able to fight off the invaders that are coming into the physical body. That's the short answer. So anyway, the bigger answer is that we have to look into the patterns. It is not just the DNA. It is not just, well, it is the DNA. It is not just the genes, though. It is the environment. It is the thinking. It is the emotions. It is the whole thing. So when we talk about holistic healing and holistic lifestyle, we're looking at the whole picture, because we are a whole being. We're not just a part of a being. We're the whole thing. So how this relates to holograms is that in order to really see ourselves very clearly, we have to do the inner work. And we can do that inner work on our own. And we can do that inner work with the help of a professional, with the help of a therapist or a quantum healer. If you'd like to work with someone who's qualified in quantum healing, you can go look up a qualified practitioner at quantumhealers.com. You can work with me, obviously. But when you choose to work with someone, that's when you really need to listen to your own intuition, your gut feeling. And you have to really feel into the person by looking into the person's eyes. I always say that the eyes are the windows to the soul. And so when you connect with the eyes of the person, you're actually connecting with their soul. So on a soul level, you will have a knowing if you are an energetic match with that person. And if you are an energetic match to that person, you're automatically drawn to them. And if you're not drawn to them. And it's just that simple. So our emotions are our guides. Our guidance is all held in our emotional system. Because if you want to perceive our guides coming from outside of us, they are actually communicating with our emotions. They're communicating with us through our emotions. And so as a human being, we're embodying this amazing, complex system of all of these different bodies, the etheric body, the mental body, emotional body, and physical body, and they're all always talking to each other. So there's always a communication going on. However, sometimes that communication goes haywire a little bit. And so when we are dealing with trauma, when we are dealing with very sticky patterns, it might be a little bit hard to manage that on our own. And so that's when a great practitioner will come in really handy, because that's what, we're trained to do. And we're really trained to hone in on the patterns that have been keeping us from achieving our goals. One pattern that comes up a lot is fear. And I feel that fear is just a way to show us that is exactly what we need to overcome. Because if we go through the fear and we pass to the other side, that's when we get the gold. The pot of gold lays within that fear. It's actually right into the fear. When we go there, we find our greatest gifts. We find the love that lays right beneath the surface. We're only fearful because it's sort of like a test. That's how I feel about it. We're literally testing ourselves, testing our resolve to see how much we want something. How much do we really want to fight for that thing that we are so fearful of? So, for example, if we are scared of intimacy, if we have a fear of commitment, if we have a fear of intimacy, that's exactly what we're here to explore. But we can't really do that if we're laying back and saying, oh no, I'm not going to do this because I'm so scared. I'm so scared of connection. Well, it's not really the connection that we're scared of. It's actually the rejection, right? So I'm so scared because I'll be rejected. I'm so scared because when they see the truth within me, when the masks come off, the outer layers, they're not going to accept me. They're not going to see me. And that's hard, because as human beings, we really want connection. Even us and introverts. I consider myself an introvert. Crazy, right? I'm actually talking into a camera, talking to you guys, and I'm still an introvert. And what that really means is that it doesn't mean that I don't want connection. In fact, I love connection. I love connecting with people. And I do it in a way that it's so deep and so fast also. Because I really see myself in everyone that comes into my presence. And I have, okay, so judgment comes in, right? So when we're seeing ourselves outside of ourselves and we're judging that person outside of ourselves, we're actually judging ourselves, because we can only perceive that which lies within our own self. It's impossible to perceive something that is not within us. Does that make sense? It's impossible to perceive something that is not held within. So whenever we're judging someone, we're actually judging ourselves. So whenever we're judging someone, we have to think, how can I turn this around? How can I turn this around and see how I'm actually saying these things about myself? The reason I'm bringing that up is because as a very sensitive person, right? As an empath, telepath also, I'm constantly being judged, and I can feel it, and I can sense it. I hear it, viscerally. I get it, and sometimes that judgment is nice, and sometimes that judgment isn't nice. And so that makes me judge the other person who I'm perceiving as judging me. And then I have to go by myself as the introvert that I am, and I have to clear that out. I have to make clear within myself what's coming up. What is it that that judgment that I'm perceiving is triggering within myself, within my own psyche. And then when I figure that out, I journal about it and then I move on. That's how I clear it. And energetically, I use the elements in order to clear. I use fire, the spirit of the fire, in order to clear. Yes, it's symbolic and not so much. It actually does work, even if we don't believe that it works. But anyway, so that brings me back to the holograms. So in order to see a hologram, right, in order to play with the different images that a hologram has, we have to change the perspective. We have to change the angle in which the light is hitting that picture in order to see another picture, in order to see a deeper inner picture. And so when we're doing that in quantum healing, we're allowing a guide to help us do just that. Because the guide will be able to see things from a different perspective and be able to ask the questions, the pivotal questions that will get to the root cause of whatever it is that's happening. Because we're dealing with patterns, and holograms, they deal with patterns because it's the interference, that pattern, that creates a different picture. It's an overlay. And so the psyche is really built on these different holographic overlays, okay? So in order to see them, we have to see it from a different perspective, and having a guide to help us do that is just so simple and a great asset. So I have 3 people on with me right now. Hello. Do you guys want to ask any questions? If you do, I invite you to post them right now because I want to keep this kind of short. Where have I been? I have been around. I have been studying psyches. I have been studying my own and other people's with the work that I do with Beyond Quantum Healing and Quantum Alchemy healing. And it's really about helping people deprogram the old programming. It's really about helping people release limitations and see beyond those limitations. So it's really about transmuting what does not serve in order to come up with a better way to live, a happier, more joyful way to live. In order for us to get to that pot of gold, we have to walk through that fear. So but it can be scary, I have to say. Like, fear can really be, those are the demons, okay? Fear, in my opinion, are the same thing as when people fear demons. Demons are not real. Fear is not real. Those are all illusions, but we perceive them as real because from a perspective, it is real. And how can we sit there and say, your perspective is wrong? You're absolutely crazy. There's nothing there, because it's absolutely there for that person, or for us if we're in those shoes. It's absolutely real. So instead of saying it's not real, we accept it as real, and then we work and move past that. Denying something doesn't make it go away. Denying something only makes it bigger. There's a saying, which I'm not very good with sayings, but I'll try to remember this one. Whatever you resist persists. It's really very true. And so that's how we create demons. Collectively, I actually have a blog post about this. Please read it. But I think it's titled Fear. Collectively, are, we are throwing thoughts into the ether. And so collectively, we're creating these entities. We're creating these demons. And so the power really lies within ourselves. And we have the power to embrace those demons, love them, because everything wants to be loved. Everyone wants to be loved, and that's just the truth. We embrace them in order to clear them. Denying them only makes them bigger. Denying them only gives them really our power. So in order to clear them, the tricky part is that it's counterintuitive, right? We want to go away from the shadows, but instead of going away, going into the shadow, we become whole. So that was a really great topic to talk about. I will probably be doing more lives because I think that it keeps it more interesting. I don't really think that much about it, although it's a little scary sometimes to just come on and just be open to whatever happening. But I think that is the really cool way to go right now. And so as I'm called to do this, I will do this. I was very called to do it today, and that's why I'm here. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for listening to the replay or for being live. And I will see you very soon. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.